Welcome to the Serene-ish podcast. We're two friends trying for serenity, but life happens.
I'm Larissa.
And I'm Brenda.
And we're glad you're here.
Each week we share honest conversations about navigating everyday life, faith, relationships, soul care, and all the messy in-betweens.
You'll hear reflections, a little laughter, and hopefully encouragement to find peace in your own journey, even if it's just serene-ish. Hi everyone, welcome to the Serene-ish podcast. I'm Larissa and this is my friend Brenda. And today I'm really excited for the conversation we're going to have today because we're going to be talking about holding space for other people. And this is something that Brenda and I do in our vocation and ministry and work lives. And basically the idea of how do we offer deep presence and support in relationships, especially when maybe a friend or somebody's coming to us for that level of deep support and companionship. So before we dive into the conversation and talk about what we mean by holding space, because that could mean a lot of different things, we'll talk about our experiences and some of how we think about that. But I'd love for us, Brenda, to just talk briefly about, has there been something recently that has been distracting, maybe when you've been trying to have a deep conversation? So this is the Serene-ish podcast where we recognize we're trying to be people of depth and deep relationship, and also we have human moments and unexpected things come up and chaos that enters into our lives. So what's one way that maybe recently you were trying to have a deep conversation and maybe something unexpected or distracting happened, and how'd you handle that?
So, I feel like this has been a bit of a theme for me recently, and I kind of laughed when I was thinking about this question because the first thing that came to mind for me was menopause brain. Because I feel like I am more and more distracted, just so much more than usual. And it's kind of unique for me right now because I have been on hormone replacement therapy, and I got off of it just to kind of see, do I still need this? Do I not? What's it looking like? So I'm still trying to figure out, what is the next step forward? Do I still need to be on this? Or maybe there's something else. But that has been something that's been coming to mind for me, that I get distracted so easily lately. So I can be having conversation, and what doesn't help is that I'm also just really hyper aware of everything that's going on around me. So I could be having conversation, but very much aware of what everybody else is doing in the room. And I have just felt like that intensifies so much more lately. And it's been hard for me to stay fully engaged in that conversation because I'm just distracted by whatever noises are around me, whatever movements around me. And so that has happened quite a bit. And then the icing on the cake is my dog, my wonderful dog, Rocket. And he has to announce absolutely everything. Everything. There is a mom pushing her baby down the in a stroller down the street. He's just got to bark as if our house is about to get ransacked or something. And so we have our faith community that comes over on Sundays, and he just barks. I can't have the conversation because someone else comes in the door and he's just losing his mind. And so he tends to be a little bit more of a distractor. And I feel bad because I'm talking about him and he's right next to my desk taking a nap. And he's probably I'm just trying to protect you. I feel so bad. So he can play a part in it. But honestly, I have just felt really distracted lately when I'm driving, just squirrel moments in my home. This has been a little bit of a thing for me recently. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Squirrel moments. I like that. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's relatable. I think many of us have like, yeah, we get distracted. We're trying our best to focus and give our best attention to things or somebody who's literally right in front of us. And of course, we've all had moments where it's like, wait, what am I, what I lost track of where we're even headed. Yeah, for me recently, maybe this was yesterday actually, I was meeting with a spiritual directee, a client. She was like pouring her heart out and like sharing something really deep and profound. And then suddenly like we were meeting on Zoom, our audio started like cutting out. So, right, I'm trying to like focus and like try to hear her, but like what she's saying is like little portions are like just disappearing. So at some point we're like, okay, maybe we can talk on the phone instead of Zoom if the internet is not great.
Right.
And then, so at some point we shifted to the phone, which was better and not cutting out. And then at some point, somebody outside my house started like mowing the lawn, like right outside our window.
Oh no.
And so I'm trying to like just ignore it. And then at some point, the woman who I'm meeting with, she's like, what is that noise in the background? Is that yours or mine? I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Oh no.
So it's definitely one of those moments where we're
Yeah.
trying to be present to one another and, things come up.
Yeah.
But I think I'm fascinated by like what it takes for us, like inwardly, right? Of course, we can't control the external distractions, and maybe we can mitigate those things and be flexible and make adjustments in the moment. But I think actually what's compelling to me is what we do internally to be able to be fully present to other people. And so I think that's kind of getting at why we wanted to talk about holding space for others, right? We're talking about what it means to offer deep presence, so deep focus, deep presence, and support in relationships. And maybe that's through work, maybe that's just a family member or a friend, right, coming to us. And for me, I always think about especially a person who might be in the midst of experiencing something hard or challenging or painful. And in those moments, I think I've recognized like, okay, I'm not here to problem solve. This isn't like troubleshooting. This is me being a good friend with this other person as they're navigating something hard or even just their faith journey, something deep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to show up for them. And sometimes I think, right, you can speak into this, but I think sometimes we have moments where we're not quite exactly sure how to show up for somebody. And even if we want to, it's like we're navigating our own inner life, right?
Yeah.
And how we're doing that. So I think that's what we're talking about. But maybe you can just describe a time just in your own life where you have felt genuinely held by a friend in this way, genuinely supported. And maybe you could share a little bit about what that experience was like for you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there have been moments that have been really tender for me. And in those moments, especially depending on the situation, sometimes just the fact that I'm even sharing what it is that's happening takes so much energy for me, just me personally, because it's very vulnerable, and this gets into a lot of just my own life story where you have to just like, it's only you got to be able to protect yourself, take care of yourself, the whole thing. And I've done a lot of work on like in healing in that area. But with all of that, it doesn't mean that it's 100% goes away. So my practice of telling people when I'm really struggling, I think sometimes on the outside can be like, oh my gosh, that's so great that you can do that and whatnot. But what it took for me to get there was really a lot. And so I've had some of these really tender moments, and the times that I have really felt held by people. There was one in particular. I was having a conversation with a friend on the phone, and I'm telling her like what's happened and like how I'm feeling and whatnot. in the situation, the thing that had happened, she's never experienced it. Like, she's not even remotely close to having experienced what that situation was. And I wasn't expecting that of her, and I wasn't expecting her to have an answer. I don't think I had any expectation. I was just needing to expose, like, ah. And she says to me, she's like, okay, how can I show up for you? What, like, right now, what do you need the most right now? And it put the brakes on what was happening. I think maybe I had been spiraling a little bit as I was talking to her, and it really, like, just hit the brakes, not in a negative way, but it actually got my brain to, like, rewire, like, reboot and think a different way of, oh, what would be helpful for me right now? Again, not to solve the problem, but to give me some sort of, like, a pocket to breathe, because I was drowning. And I just told her, and I took a risk in saying this, and I just said, to just let me say the things I need to say and use the language that I want to use, and not judge me, because I was really angry. And she said, okay, I can do that. Go. And she held that. Like, I was able to just go, like, say what I needed to say, use all the words to, like, really paint the picture of, like, me being angry about this, and never once felt like this judgment from her. Now, here's an opposite, not opposite, but a different side of the coin, I guess, for that. Because, like I just said, it can take a lot for me to, like, as I'm such a deep feeler. So when something's happening, the energy that's being used is a lot. So for me to, like, be with people, that takes even more energy, right? I have had times when there have been those that, instead of saying, hey, I'm going to come to your house and we're going to hang out, I'm going to be there with you, like, I'm not going to let you be alone, knowing that I was okay, what they did instead was drop something off at my front door, and then shoot me a text to let me know, hey, go to your front door. There's, like, a pot of soup there. There's a box of little mini cereals, because I love cereal. Just so random. I know. This is our little goat moment right now in the midst of a cereal song. I love cereal at night. It's the
Cereal's
best.
delicious.
It's delicious. It's so delicious. That's my comfort food, people. Okay, don't judge me. But left one of those big boxes of all these little mini boxes of cereal in there at my front porch, or a thing of flowers on my front porch. But they didn't. They knew me well enough, like, and that was, to me, if that I felt held, because they knew that to be with people would have put me into a mindset of I have to entertain, and I'm exhausted because of this thing I'm carrying, this weight. I'm okay, I'm not alone, but their way of embracing me was to bring something they knew that I could enjoy as I was just taking a moment to retreat and to breathe. My retreat, their thing they did was my reminder to come back out when I'm ready from my retreat. So those would be those two examples where I really have felt like I felt so held and seen in those moments.
And with both of those, and these are friends who you would say know you really well.
Yes.
And you have, like, a lot of relationship.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
oh my
absolutely.
Gosh, that's so beautiful. I love that you described two different ways that played out for you, and how maybe it did something different and unique.
Yeah.
But also you felt seen and held and
Yeah.
safe from both of those expressions.
Right.
That's amazing.
Right. Because I have had the experience as well of, people. Sometimes when we want to help someone, we need to think about what would be helpful for them, not what would be helpful for us. And that's something I've had to learn as well. I know everyone can't see our faces right now, but I see it all over yours. That what it feels like.
Yes.
Where it's like, maybe for you this would have been helpful, but you didn't take the time to see, or if you didn't know, to ask me if this would be helpful for me, and to not should on me that I should be receiving this kind of help, like, like those things aren't helpful. And so I have had that experience too, where someone is like, they just make the plan, they just do the thing, and because they're being helpful, and it was very, very much not, really not helpful. And then it makes it even worse because then there's the awkward conversation and whatnot, and because I can't live with the elephant in the room, so I always end up talking about it. But yeah, what about you?
Yeah. The thing that came to mind, this was quite a while ago. Steve and I had our oldest child, and we were trying to get pregnant again. And at some point we did get pregnant, and then we had a miscarriage. Okay, I'm just, this, like, I could talk about more about that at some other point, but I'm framing the context. So we had a miscarriage, but that day we had gone to the doctors, just kind of like the routine checkup at like 12 weeks or 13 weeks into the pregnancy. So we were expecting like, oh, we're going to see the heartbeat and maybe we'll find out the baby's gender. And the doctor couldn't find a heartbeat. So we went home, we were devastated, and we had never had a miscarriage before. So it was like all like grief and live and just brand new. We didn't even know what we needed, you know what I mean? And how to process. But that day it was like some big regional ministry meeting that we were supposed to be at. So like kind of a huge part of our jobs was scheduled for that day. And we went home and we're like, there's no way we can like show up to a 4 or 5 hour meeting. Even though we love those folks, we're not okay right now.
Yeah.
And so we called our supervisor. Her name was Jen, and she was like, in general, Jen was like the most pastoral, kind-hearted, like mama bear kind of presence. Okay. So we had a lot of trust with her. She didn't just feel like our boss, but she was our boss. But we called her up, or Steve called her up and was like, Jen, just like, here's what happened, and I don't think Larissa or I can come to the meeting. And she immediately was like, of course. Like, of course, full permission to not be at the meeting.
Right.
And how would you feel if I came over later this afternoon and just sat with you guys? Would that feel good and helpful? And both of us were like, oh yeah, immediately, yes. And it was so generous of an offer, because I'm sure she had other things to do that day and was busy and whatever. She drove like 45 minutes from her house to ours. And right when she like came to the door, she didn't even say anything. She just like enfolded me in this like big, massive hug. And I didn't even have to say anything. I like burst into tears, and I'm like, she just held me for like, like an awkward amount of time. But in the moment, it didn't feel awkward. It was like so perfectly long. And I think like I wouldn't have been able to say like, oh, I need a good hug from a safe mother person. But like, that is what I needed. And she knew. And she showed up and she just sat with us and she let us share. She asked us how we were doing. She gave us like lots of expansive time to like be in our feelings. And I think that's what we needed. Yeah. And then later she just offered to, a few other ways of like supporting us. And that was a really specific, visceral moment where I remember like I was like so gently held by a friend, literally held, but also like emotionally held by somebody who, she's like a few decades older than me. So she knows what it's like to mother her children. And I don't know, there was just something about who she was also that added to that experience.
Wow.
But yeah, that was a really powerful moment.
Yeah.
I think probably similar to you, where it was like, I don't even have the words to explain myself maybe. Or
Right.
maybe I do, and maybe I want that space, but maybe I don't. And I kind of want a person who can get it and like make some space for me in whatever I'm feeling like I need, versus like, I don't know, asking too many questions or like giving her insight. She gave almost none of that. She asked a couple gentle questions that, you know, were checking in on us, but yeah, it wasn't like, oh, I have to manage this other person.
Yes.
So I think that's some of what you're getting at. Like, we
Yeah.
don't, sometimes in grief or loss or hard things, if that's me, I'm like, I just need people to like be with me and be okay to not have it be about them. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh my gosh, right.
So-
I'm thinking about how did you describe it? The wonderfully long, what was the hug?
Oh, like awkwardly and lovely and too long?
Yeah, like just those two words to get together, I think says so much about what holding space can oftentimes can look like. Is the wonderfully awkwardly loving thing,
Yeah.
right? And then like this how you describe that hug of it almost like she took the lead from you as to how long like you were going to be held. She opened her arms, she received you, and she let you take the lead on how long do you need to be in this space, and I'll hold you here. Like, I love that image. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
are you still in contact with her?
Well, she passed away a couple years ago, but she, up until then, yes, we were,
Wow.
she was like a very key mentor in our lives. So she and her husband both. So
What a
yeah, I
gift.
miss her a lot.
Yeah.
She was such a gift to me, Steve, our family, and lots of other people.
Yeah.
Well, what if we do this? I feel like this is going to be a two-parter series. So I'm not sure about that, and I didn't
Okay.
even ask you. But
Yeah,
I feel
I'm
like
good.
maybe we'll flush this out as much as we can in this part of the conversation. And if you and I both feel like maybe there's more to explore, maybe this becomes a two-part thing. So I think I just, from our own experiences, I would love to invite listeners, people listening in, to consider like what memories or moments in your own lives, have you experienced being gently held and supported by somebody else? And I think that's some of what we're getting at. And I did want to clarify even just what you and I mean by holding space, or this idea, right? It could mean a lot of different things. So maybe I can share some thoughts, and if you want to add to this, you can. But I think part of how I'm thinking about holding space, it essentially means being willing to walk alongside somebody else, be with them without judgment while they are processing their own experiences, emotions, decisions, whatever that might be, right? And I think to take it even further, I think of holding space as it involves non-judgment listening, so bearing witness and good listening. It involves, on some level, like surrendering or releasing any impulse to fix or problem solve, and we can get into that a little bit. And I think when I think about it in my own life, it also includes managing our own discomfort. So I'm thinking back to your story about like you're sharing with a friend over the phone something that they personally didn't relate to, right? Or they were kind of distant from the thing that you were experiencing. But the reality of them even being able to like put on hold any discomfort or questions or like even confusion that they might have had in that moment. I'm not sure if that's what exactly you experienced of them, but to me it sounds like just how important that is to maybe as a listener and as a friend, I have my own feelings and I have my own thoughts, but I don't need to let that take precedence in front of being with this person in front of me who right now what they're dealing with or what they're experiencing or what they're sharing with me is actually the more important thing. My experiences for a moment can be put on hold and maybe not forever, right? But I think there's something about managing our own selves. But I don't know, those are some of my thoughts as I think about what it means to hold space for people and what it has meant to me when people do that for me. I think that's how I'm thinking about it. But
Yeah.
what about you? Like, what do you feel like you would add anything to that or shift anything? What's your understanding?
No, honestly, I think those are all really good. Like even when you're saying a holding space involves like being non-judgmental in our listening, because there is a listening to people, and we have this whole narrative that's going on in our head as we're listening to that person. I'm listening to you, but I'm already forming my opinions, my either argument for or against. Like it's just like all of those things start to happen, and it takes a lot of practice to be able to just really listen to the person and exercise curiosity. And I know you hear that phrase so much now, but I think there's a reason for it, because we're in a time where there's so much snap to judgments based on very little information, or information that is skewed. And so there's a lot of that like snapping to judgment. So holding space, I think it embodies everything that you're talking about. Taking that time to be with that person and to ask them those gentle questions. And I think if you know the person, you know their personality, you know what that can look like. For one person, gentle questions could look very different than somebody else. Someone else maybe wants the direct. And so, you navigate depending on the person, but just you're creating a space for them to be able to process, for them to be able to talk, to share, to unburden themselves in a way. And in doing that, it's not so much that you're taking on all of their burdens, but now we're going to hold those together. And I think sometimes that's maybe a misunderstanding, that as I unburden myself, that empathy means that you now take on all my burdens. We're not talking about that, because that's not healthy. We're talking about we're going to hold this together and be able to figure out what pieces can I help you hold, and what pieces I can't help you hold. My arms aren't strong enough. They're not up to that. But hey, maybe this person can help you in holding that. And then that's community coming in, where we're all now holding those pieces together. And so, yeah, I love that about the non-judgmental listening, not needing to fix something, managing our own discomfort. I think half the time that we try to fix the other person or the situation is because we're uncomfortable with how it's making the other person feel. Like someone's like bawling in front of you. You care. It's not that you don't care that they're bawling in front of you, but it's also making you feel uncomfortable that they're bawling in front of you, like they're pain. I can't stand to see you in pain. Just think of that as the whole sentence. I can't stand to see you in pain. So I have to fix you so that you're not in pain. And I'm not feeling that as well.
Right.
I don't know that it's entirely selfish, but it's something to be aware of, right?
Yeah. And maybe I feel like what you're getting at, there's so much to nuance to what you just said. So I kind of want to linger there for a moment. And I know we have to wrap up for today, but so this is where maybe a two-parter.
Yeah.
But I think there was something really interesting about that probably there's a level of real love and compassion and empathy that's happening, right? Yeah. If I'm listening to you, if I'm witnessing my friend crying and going through something so hard and painful, or something, a loss or a grief, then yeah, there's a natural impulse to be like, what can we do to shift you out of that mode?
Right.
And so I think that's maybe a really healthy and good thing that's inside of us, right? The empathy, of course, that's beautiful. Compassion, love, wanting to help. And I wonder if what we're actually talking about is the most, sometimes in the present moment, letting that person fully process the live grief or sadness or painful thing is the most helpful. And to circumvent that is actually taking them out of a real live process and into okay, let's troubleshoot this, right? It's probably it's actually short-circuiting a really healthy thing that's happening, which yeah, I know that I do even for myself. If I'm like feeling sad, I can quickly be like, well, what do I do to manage this? What do I do to shift out of this moment into a different mode? And you know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
we can, as friends or supporters, maybe allowing the full spectrum of grief and tears and crumbling. I think maybe our world needs that a little bit more. I don't
Do you
know.
feel like you do that to yourself as well? Like when you were saying, I don't know if that's what you meant when you were saying that, like when like you're feeling the sadness or whatnot. Do you feel like you do that to yourself where I'm feeling sad? How do I manage? How do I fix this?
Probably. I
Yeah.
mean, to some extent, maybe not always, but I think I do. I've caught myself doing that for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
How about you?
No. Oh yeah. Absolutely. I have had to train myself of maybe this is something to linger in. Maybe it's okay to sit in this. Maybe
Yeah.
this is okay to actually be sad for a little bit. Because then I get worried that I'm going to stay there for too long.
Right.
And and again, so much of this goes back to childhood of where you've got to like, if you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem, which is what I just constantly would hear. So I always have to be a part of the solution. I always have to have a solution. It took so much time for me to realize that, well, maybe the solution is to linger here for a little bit.
Right.
Never
Right.
that was never presented to me as that could be a part of the solution. So I can't help but wonder sometimes is, we can't give what we don't have. If we can't practice that for ourselves, it's going to be hard to practice that holding space with others. And so maybe that's something we get into as well in part two. Like, I don't know how to do this. So let's just try doing this with ourselves. What does it look like to hold space with myself when what's happening inside here is really uncomfortable? I don't like this. I don't understand it. What do I do?
Yeah.
Or what do I
Okay.
not do?
That's really good. Yes. Guys, everyone listening, we're like fleshing out in live time. I
Yeah.
think there's like so much to what we're talking about. And I'm like, yeah, I would love to continue the conversation.
Yeah, let's do it.
And anyway, let's see. How are we doing on time? Do we have 1 minute to
Yeah.
wrap with the most goat yoga thing that happened to you recently?
Oh my gosh. Okay, you go first. You go first.
Oh my gosh. Hold on.
The most goat yoga thing that has happened this past week. I just feel like my menopause brain has been just taking me all over the place right now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know if this qualifies. We're for folks who are joining into this conversation. We kind of every once in a while talk about moments where we're trying to enter into our day peacefully with serenity, and yet it gets disrupted by something like a goat while you're trying to do yoga. This one is a little, less extreme, but I yesterday I went to my kids' school for an assembly that one of my kids was like participating in, and I showed up. They did the assembly, and then I was like giving her a hug to say goodbye, and I was gonna just leave, and she looked super sad, and I was like, wait, what's wrong? This is Aria. I was like, what's going on for you? And she's like, well, I'm really sad because I totally forgot today was ugly Christmas sweater day. And she had forgotten to like wear, and so all of her friends were wearing like ugly Christmas sweaters, and she was just in her normal school uniform. And so in that moment, I saw how sad and despondent she was. So I'm like, well, right now I'm wearing a sweater. Do you want to take this? And I like start taking it off. And I give her my like big bulky adult sweater, and she like was so happy. She's like, thanks mom, that makes me feel better. And she ran off.
So sweet.
Anyway, I don't think that's disruptive, but I think there was a moment where I'm like, I had a plan for the day.
Yeah.
My plan did not include giving my sweater away to my daughter.
Literally taking the clothes off your back for your child. I think that qualifies you for sainthood right there.
Yeah.
Literally
Anyway.
doing that. I love that. I think mine, because I've been trying to think, we went on a hike, and it was a night hike. It was our first night hike with the group. And on the way down, we ended up in conversation with a couple of people. And let's just say that our energy between me and that person, our energy was very different.
Okay.
Very different. She came with very high energy. They keep talking, and they're like, and then they keep talking, and my energy was not that. And I quickly realized it was going to be about 3 miles of me just like hearing that and hoping there could be maybe a word I could get in, or maybe ask a question or
Right.
something. And so I had to really take a breath, and just allow those 3 miles to happen. Just allow them to happen. And it was actually good. By the end of it, got to hear a little bit more about just her story. And so it ended well. It was just, it wasn't the energy that I came with, that I had planned for, that I had enjoyed going up to the little peak thing and where the gathering was. It wasn't what I had planned for. And all of this was being done while we're wearing all of our Christmas lights, because it was a Christmas hike. So you're wearing I'm wearing my little Christmas bulb necklace, and you hear all the jingling. So it's supposed to be really jolly. And inside, I'm not jolly. And I had to just like, no. This is part of the jolliness. We're just going to make space for everybody. And so, yeah, it disrupted my little mood moment.
Folks, we are open to the disruptions in our lives and trying our best to navigate the hard and confusing moments like that. I love that. We stay open, we stay flexible, and maybe we get surprised with like a good conversation with somebody that we didn't expect. So.
Exactly.
Well, I just want to say thanks, Brenda. I know that there's so much to talk about here. I love our conversations, and we're so grateful for people entering into these. And we'll talk to you guys next time. Take care. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. We truly hope something we shared offered you a little bit of encouragement on your journey.
And if you're enjoying these conversations, we'd love to invite you to our Substack, the Serene-ish podcast.
It's where we dive even deeper with extra resources, reflections, and even a community chat where we can all keep the conversation going. Just head to the sereneishpodcast.substack.com and join us.
Until next time, remember to look for peace, even if it's just a serene-ish kind.